Suzanne Johns, Dallas Real Estate Investments. There's a lot of different avenues that you can use for investing. One of the things we're going to talk about this week, because I'm actually the real presenter next week, is fix and flip. A lot of people think, you know, I watched that on HGTV. It looks pretty simple. I could do that. I like houses. My wife knows how to decorate. We must be good at this. No. Those are not the prerequisites necessarily to get into the fix and flip business. Let me give you a percentage that maybe wake you up just a little. Most people, let's say there's 100 people in this room, 5 will be successful at fix and flip, okay? 5. It's not a real good percentage. So don't run out and spend all your hard-earned money on something that's a huge gamble. That's called a high-risk investment. That's what fix and flip is. I have a gentleman that's trying real hard to get into one of my classes, and I won't let him in because he took my intro class, and his first phone call I had with him was, well, can you guarantee that I'm going to be successful? No, I can't. Can you guarantee that I can do this, that I can get these supplies, No, I can't. But I can give you your best avenues to be able to be successful with that, but it still has to do with what happens inside here. A lot of people don't go into fix and flip with the right psyche, which is your psychological or mental attitude. And that has to be that you find a way to get around obstacles. You have the positive mental attitude it takes to know somehow, some way you're going to work it out. You know, you just have to have that entrepreneurial spirit, that it is omnipotent in the fix and flip business, because it can't be a part-time gig. If you're going to do this, I'm going to do one once a year. Okay. Well, the once a year guys don't make a lot of money at it. They might make just a little bit of mailbox money, okay, but not much. So if they're thinking they're going to make this big sweep of hot dog, we're going to, put all this millions into the bank, that's not going to be what you're going to put in the bank. Your first flip, to be realistic, my first flip, and I do know what I'm doing, we made $30,000. That's not a lot of money. And I have a husband, thank goodness, so he didn't have to take half. If I was working with a partner, I got to split that in half. So now I'm making $15,000 for some pretty hard work. That's usually not your best alternative for an investment, but what we did do is make a commitment to ourselves that, okay, we're learning and we know there's a learning curve. First one, not what we wanted to see. Second one, not what we wanted to see. In fact, I lost money on the second one because I was stupid, but that was second. That's, it's one of the, here's the reason. And I own up to my own mistakes, okay? I learn from what I do, and I try hard not to do it again. I let my emotions get into the fix instead of my business sense be in the fix. So as soon as your emotions are in it, you make no good decisions. And that's what I happen to do because I'm a realtor. I know all this stuff. Well, heck yes, I can make it work. No problem. No, that's not the case. It was not in the right neighborhood. I didn't take into effect all the different things that were around us that were going to affect our sale. There was just a lot of extenuating circumstances that I chose to not pay attention to. And you can't do that. I don't care how good it looks for a flip. I don't care if we can walk into Highland Park and it's just one of those, oh my gosh, drop dead, gotta have type of thing. If I can't do an analysis and tell you, yep, we can do that, I wouldn't do it. Now that doesn't mean you can't make it work. There is a fool born every minute, but they just don't happen along very often. Unfortunately, they never seem to happen along when I'm doing the deal. So just remember, that the odds are you need to base everything on the correct business decisions, not on a psychological decision. So, like I said, the first one was menial, 30,000. Second one, lost money because I let my emotions play into the game instead of making business decisions. The third one, my husband told me, this is it. You screw up on this one, we're done. And thank God we did it right and we made 75,000. Deal. So we learned on, and there is a learning curve on this. Everybody gets in, and then you get into what's called a rhythm. Once you get your rhythm going, because you set up, there is a way to set up this business in which I teach of how you're going to set up your office, how you're going to set up your files, what you're going to use as far as progression. And if you will follow that, it strictly is how to follow that, you will be successful at it. Because this is a time business. The second I close on a loan or with a house, the clock starts ticking. And it's not by minutes, it's by seconds. Because most people get started with hard money. Hard money costs 12 to 14% interest. That's a lot of money. And it accumulates from the second you own it. So they don't just give you a free pass for a month like you'll get on your mortgage. Not happening. It doesn't work with hard money lenders. They are very, very hard to work with, number one, and I teach you how to work with those guys, but they charge a lot of points up front, which is usually 2 to 3 points, depending on your experience level. If you're new, it's 3 points. 3 points is a percentage per point. So if you're borrowing $100,000, you're going to pay them 1% per, so that's 3% you're going to pay them. That's money up front that you pay them. Then you pay the interest on top of that. Then you also pay closing fees for that loan. So they're a little bit higher than if I were doing a straight up real estate transaction. So all of those things we calculate into the money so that we have all of the math that you're going to need to put what it takes to buy it, what it takes to sell it, and what it takes to renovate it. And that's the other equation you have to be able to do. Now I need to be able to come up with a really accurate budget to work within. So if I know what it's going to cost me, more than likely, to renovate this, hopefully I've done my inspections, I've looked at everything, I've made sure that I've covered all my bases, and I don't have big surprise. But there are going to be surprises. The biggest ones are going to be foundations. The second one is going to be the roof. The third one is going to be an AC unit. So I make sure that I cover those three quickly on the very front end. The time constraints on being able to purchase one of these has also to do with whether or not I can get you something on MLS or if I have to get something from a wholesaler. Wholesalers, we got 5 to 7 days max to be able to inspect and figure out what we're going to spend. If I can get it on MLS, I can get you 15 days to be able to inspect, get our lending in place, get everything ready to go and close. So it makes a big difference. That's why I really like to work off of MLS. That's why, Jeremy, I send you guys those houses to look at. Those are reasonable ones we might want to consider. Now, because I sent you 50, probably only one of them is worth really walking. But I've already done the preliminary look at them to go yes or no. So there was 250 that came through that you guys only got to look at 50 because I immediately nixed the first group. That's another thing you do. If you're going to work with a realtor, they must understand the fix and flip business. It is not the same as a realtor that goes out and lists a house for sale and sells a house. We are strictly time constraint related. So if I list that house, I try to list it by day 60 at the most, day 45 if I can, because we want to close it by day 90. I want you in and out of that flip no more than 120 days, 90 if I can. But everything has to be where everybody understands that time is money. I know you've heard that before, but in the fix and flip business, it means exactly that. So, and you never take for granted that it doesn't, because you will definitely pay the price. You'll lose money when you close on that deal, which is not the objective of an investment. Have you guys got any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So, if you buy a house and you're going to do a fix and flip, how important is it to know who your buyer is with the, amenities that you're putting back into the house?
First of all, I want to make sure that what I am going to put in that house is going to appeal to the most buyers as possible. So I am not going to go crazy on the colors, and I'm not going to go crazy on what I'm putting in as far as maybe some people like black cabinets, but not everybody does. I need to stick with what's going to be more trendy, and you can find that on the HGTV. You can find that. The best way to find trends is that I do it all the time. Walk new construction model homes. Those people hire decorators and designers that have been in the business forever, and they've got degrees upon degrees, and they know exactly what the current buying public is buying. They are paid to know that.
Quick question on the fix and flips. How long do you see them now being on the market? Do they move faster than a regular home?
Not necessarily. It just depends on the price point you're buying in. If I'm buying anything over $500,000, it's going to sit longer. If I can stay under $400,000, we got a good shot at making it be gone as soon as possible in that 120.
What's the average days on the market now?
Right now, we're running anywhere from a 60 to about 75.
Okay.
Depends on the area though,
Right.
and it also depends, like I said, on that price point. Now, if I get into the higher price, then I'm closer to 120 to 180 to 270. It gets higher and higher. As the price goes up, the market price goes higher. Now, if it's Highland Park, though, that's different because they got cash buyers all day long, and those guys are coming in from all sorts of other places. So they don't fit in the norm.
Okay.
But Frisco, if I can get anything under 500,000, I can get it gone right now. Plano, 400 to 500 for sure. Prosper, it's going to be below 500. Aubrey, I need to be around 325, 350. Little Elm, 325. So areas like that. Yes, sir.
Two questions. So how about Anna for that price range? And then
Anna, I would stay as close to 300 as I can. Even though Anna's up and coming, but you can still buy some little flippers over there that are in the 200,000 range, and maybe there's three kinds of flips. So there's a light, medium, and heavy. So your light one is what we call lipstick on a pig. All I got to do is go in, paint it, replace the flooring, do a little bit of paint on the cabinets, and turn it, and it's ready to go. Medium means I am pulling out some things. I'm putting in new hardware. I'm putting in new lights. I'm, probably scraping the ceilings because I have popcorn, things like that. But heavy is way beyond a new flippers. Heavy is going to be a burnout. It's going to be anything having to do with water floods, things like that. Those go into heavies.
now I was just curious about an example of letting your emotions get in the way on a flip. We'll give an example of that.
Here, he's not here today, Tony, his emotions got involved on his flip. And he did a beautiful job. But unfortunately, Tony builds normally in a higher end classification of homes. And we bought that house at $300,000. So it should not have been finished out like it was $1.2 million. So he let his finish out that he's normally doing put into that house, and it cost him more money. So he lost some money he should have made by putting in the wrong products. That's letting your emotions get involved.
So he had a negative return on invested capital.
Yes, that is correct. He got out. Now here's the other thing that helps you a little bit, because if I'm your realtor, if you're flying along and if we're going to take a dive, I leave my commission on the table. There will be no other realtor in this world that will ever do that for you, because I know where you're coming from, number one. Number two, you're my client. And so I know that we're going to be doing something else. It's not the first time, last time we're ever going to be working together. And then I also pay for your professional pictures, and I also help you with your staging. So, big difference. anyway, yes, sir.
I've had several clients go into the flip business.
Have they? How well have they done?
Oh, I've seen a lot of these houses been on the market 6 to 8 months. We buy a 6-month policy, and then all of a sudden,
It's 12.
not sold. We're gonna do another 6, and yeah, I've seen a lot of them go 8, 9 months before they're sold.
Oh, for sure. Here's what I really enjoy, and it's sad, but I go to these meetings that have other investors that are flippers, and I like to walk around and ask how long it's taking them to put their flip together. How long is it taking you to renovate? And guys, well, I'm just on month 9. Oh my God, are you even on the market yet? Oh well, we're kind of at
Thinking about it, maybe.
we're almost on flooring. I'm like,
If you're going to a neighborhood that's selling for $400,000 on average, okay, what is your price point to buy a house for a flip? Because what I've seen is if you want to buy a house and list it for 400, you've got to be buying it for like 2 1/4. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough money to invest to upgrade it,
sure.
to sell it, and then make.
Yeah, it
profit
obviously
you talk about.
depends on the renovations that you're having to do. I mean, if it's massive, forget it. That's a no-go.
Yeah.
If we possibly can make it fly at 300, but I really need to be under 300. The gauge
2
is 70%.
2 1/4 for the house, 75,000 for all the upgrades, remodel, and
That's way too much.
okay.
Way too much. Because I still got to pay all of my closing costs, realtor fees. I've got all of those things. And if you're doing hard money, you might as well put in 20 grand for hard money. If depends on how long it's taking you.
Yeah.
If you're taking your 9 to 12 months, you're 20 grand for hard money.
Ouch.
So this is a great example of why you need to sit down and really understand what a fix and flip business is all about.
Not,
Yes.
you know, in today's world, everyone wants to go on the internet and do a DIY. That ain't the way to fly.
Well,
You don't know what you're doing, you're gonna hurt yourself.
thank you.